Divine greetings, beloveds. What the Pope said. There's three key things that the Pope said that is going to really change the frequency. And it's got the planets written all over it. Let's get into it, beloveds. Welcome. I am Tanya R. I am the creator of Chart and Soul Astrology, where I share with you biz astrology, book astrology, as well as your stars and stacks. So this is where you are getting your astro education, and none of the fluff, none of the horoscopes, but the real deal on what the planets are doing, how you can prosper, be well in your wallet, mind, body, and spirit. So let's get into it. What did the Pope say? Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So the three things that I want to get into that the Pope said are the three things that I really resonate with and the things that I talk about even in my work, in my community, and in my business. So first off, for the Pope to address something that is going on in the world, and of course you know he's got to do this with all of the diplomacy of who and what his role is. So first two things I want to share with you about Pope Leo. First of all, he did choose his name. His name was chosen from Pope Leo from 1891, and this was the Pope that really started to make changes. This Pope is also someone who spoke out against some of the things that were occurring, including the Industrial Revolution, which is in perfect alignment with this Uranus and Gemini. And many of us were thinking when this Uranus and Gemini energy came that it was going to be some big, rebellion, but this is going to shake up not just the religiosity, but also the Christianity and the Catholic Church, because the things that he spoke about. And so let me get into his chart a little bit. I'm going to do a little bit of biz astrology using beloved Pope Leo. So as I said, he took his name from Pope Leo of 1891, who also spoke out about the Industrial Revolution and how that was going to change the world. Now here we have our 2026 version of this Pope Leo. Again, he chose the name. Not only is he from Chicago, I'm a Chicago girl, he's also a Virgo, and he has a Virgo stellium. And so when I look at his chart, I really see that service is first and foremost. He also comes from a diverse lineage, and there has been all the talk about his diverse lineage, but he has never, ever not acknowledged it. In fact, he acknowledged it in such a huge, big way with his speech yesterday, apologizing for the enslavement times. He spoke out publicly for the first time. This is the first time that the Catholic Church in Rome, Italy, spoke out against enslavement. Now, this is so important for us because, again, beloveds, this is going to open up new channels, new conversations, and possibly even reparations. Because now we have Spain, who's apologized a little bit here, but now with the Pope coming in, it's time for Portugal. It's time for France right now. I know France just said that they were pro-Pan-Africanism. But now we're seeing the Catholic Church really taking a stand and apologizing for what enslavement did. And so those of us who are of Black and African ancestry can really now start to do some of the deeper healing work. Because remember, this is the awakener. Uranus is the awakener. And depending on where it's hitting in your chart, where this is for the next 7 years, this is what the awakener is doing, and it's communicating, it's connecting. And so the next thing that he spoke about that I was so grateful about, and again, this is my framework, because let me back it up. The framework that I work with in Cosmicnomics, first of all, is about our wellness. So for us as Black and African people of the diaspora around literally the world, now that the Pope has publicly come out and said that some of the deepest cellular work of healing shame around these stories around enslavement that go back generations and generations, 400 generations back into our DNA. We can really get to the cellular level of that. He's not only bringing in that energy, he, brought this out on a Monday, using that energy of the moon, using the energy of compassion, because again, he does have a Virgo stellium, and I'll be getting into his chart a little bit deeper soon. But then the second thing I want to get into, because I want to take some time to really go into his chart. This is why, now I'm really going to focus on the biz astrology, because we all have our birth chart. We all have a business, we have a career, we have work, what we are doing to make money. And I have studied not only medical intuition, like really looking at the body as a vessel and being able to do that type of work, also as a psychic medium, but I've also been studying medical astrology as well as financial astrology, because they are so connected. Our survival mode and struggle mind is what keeps us from our prosperity. And so by him acknowledging that the enslavement times needed to be acknowledged and apologized for, allows our nervous system to start to repattern. And so the second part about that is that he discussed at length in his Magnus about the ideology idolatry of money. And I love what he said is that we are at a time in our lives where money has become such an important thing that we have lost parts and pieces of ourselves. And he said the idolization of money, as in the West, has changed who we are as people, and that we must come back to our humanity. And then he brought in, of course, what everybody's talking about is AI. So not only did he apologize for the enslavement times, then he brought in the idolatry of money. Then he brought in AI. And his opus on AI was so profound because he went back to what he said about enslavement. If we give up our thinking, if we don't continue to be thinking people, then the AI will then make us slaves. So you see, he went full circle with it. And this is why I was first of all, I was intrigued by him the first time, when he was elected, a man from Chicago, the first one that is from the United States. Again, I know if he's from Chicago, he's got some big Venus lines, because we're from the Midwest, we're from Chicago, we are kind and giving people. I don't know what it is in the water over there, but Chicago, we are the ones. And so, and I know everybody says that, but I just love that, because when I went to Catholic school, I remember the first time, I forget what pope it was, but he was in Chicago at the time, and I went to Immaculate Conception, and I remember we had that papal visit, and I had never been a religious person, but I have always, since I was a young girl, as you can hear, I went to a Catholic school, I did have some spiritual practice, and I did have some spiritual connection. So we went to a spiritual church, and I continued that. And in fact, that is where I have my license as a spiritual counselor, religious science certified practitioner through the Centers for Spiritual Living. But I digress. So he talked about the enslavement. He apologized. He talked about how people are not now worshiping what is above and us below. Society has gotten on this worship of money. And then he went into how if we are not mindful, if we are not looking at everything around AI, then we can be in danger of being enslaved by it again, or being back enslaved. In fact, there was a movie that I watched recently because I was guided to watch it, Moonfall. The movie was, typical whatever, but there was a point in there when they showed a video, and it wasn't even a 2-minute clip, but I was so grateful I had watched the movie just to see that clip. And I guess I'll try to figure out how I can share it here, maybe as a short, because it is less than a moment, but I don't think I can. But watch Moonfall. It's, you know, I'll share that clip with you. I'm learning how to do the video editing and all the things here, as well as AI. And so why I wanted to talk about what Francis said is because as you know, as I'm evolving, as we are all evolving, I've been tarot life coach. You can still see my very first video here from since 2010. And I've evolved, I've matured. I'll be turning 55 in a couple of months. And in saying that, I'm ready to let all of my true shine out. This is why I'm talking about the Pope, and I'll be talking about some other business astrology charts, including one that I'm sure you're not paying attention to, but if you want to know where your money's going, this is why I actually, Bistrology came through to me, and I'm going to get into what Bistrology is, as well as I will be sharing some new bookstrology as well. You see, I'm bringing my librarian, I'm bringing the astrologer, I'm bringing, you know, my psychic gifts, all of that into the new channel. So get ready for Tanya R, Bistrologer, bookstrologer. Find me over there on Stars and Stacks on Substack, because I will be talking about not just the Stars and Stacks, the books, but I will be talking about the Stars and Stacks, the money. Because now that we recognize, more importantly, that money is an inherent, we are inherently prosperous, right? The fact that we are still here shows us that we're prosperous, not because of what's going on outside, but what's going on inside. And not to be,